Hello, my name is Laura Curtis, and I am the Senior Vice Commander here at the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, Oxford Post 5663, located at 20 Federal Hill Road in Oxford, Massachusetts. In years past, whenever there has been an election with candidates running for contested elected positions, we've hosted Meet the Candidate events. On this year's Town of Oxford ballot, we only have one contested race, however, and that is for a position on the Board of Selectmen. So for this year, we're simply having a one-on-one recorded interview with each candidate, asking 10 questions that residents submitted. Each candidate had an opportunity to review the questions prior to the interview so we could hear plainly from our candidates what they think about these issues. The town election is May 21st, 2024, so please vote. All right, let's get started. So with me today is Mark Robbins.
Yes.
And he's running for Board of Selectmen. Thank you very much for coming and sitting with me today.
Absolutely.
So for the first question, both candidates live along the same street, just a couple doors down from each other. You're basically neighbors. So did you know each other? Did you know that each other was running before you each qualified as candidates? And how does it feel to be running against a neighbor?
Oh, for starters, Russ and I pretty much literally live across the street from each other. I didn't know he was running at the time. I got my candidacy paperwork, got all the required signatures, and when I turned them in is when I found out that there was another candidate running. Then I realized that it was Mr. Rowe, who lives literally across the street from me. So I do know who he was. He's served the town in various other positions. We don't have a whole lot of interaction with each other. We see each other when we mow our lawns or we do yard work, and everything has always been cordial, and win or lose, I would imagine that would continue. I don't think this is a personal, like, you're running, I'm gonna run against you to beat you. It's nothing like that. It was just two citizens that have decided to participate in our town government.
All right, thank you. Question number 2, please tell us about your values regarding town government communication and transparency with the residents.
That seems to be a big talking point from when I worked my way through the town, getting the signatures for my candidacy and everything else, and just communicating with people. There seems to be a big issue with that, or that seems to be a big question. So with that said, I believe that we need to talk to people. We need to interact with people. Everybody does not get everything they want. That never happens. It's not realistic. It's not anything. My relationship with my spouse and my children. Any one of us at any given time doesn't get what we want, but we're respectful with each other. We're polite with each other. I would like to say that at times there's no frustration, but there's frustration. You still have to have that decorum, that personal ownership in yourself and your actions. So with the transparency, I think our government, I don't think our government, I know our government works for us. And they are elected to do the day-to-day bidding of the citizens. They're elected to make the small decisions from day to day that need to be done. And in order to do that with trust and confidence, they have to be transparent about it. So with my candidacy, if I have to say no about something, then you as the citizen deserves an explanation as to why something can't be done or how we can get something done.
All right, thank you. Question number 3, what is your stance on public comment opportunity at town meetings and town board meetings?
Again, that becomes another, I don't like the words. It's complicated and things like that. I think those words are kind of more demeaning, like you don't understand. I would use this approach. It's interesting. The town right now is very upset that they feel that they're not heard, or they're not being listened to, or maybe they're just not getting their way and they're angry about it. Rightfully so. They have our elected officials work for us. They need to listen and not listen to respond, listen to understand. So with that, I do believe we need public comment. I think it's appropriate. That's how we know what our citizens are looking for, what our citizens need, or what they don't want. So we have to have that. Part of the problem is we do have people that want to just go on, and they can't stay focused and on target, which then draws the whole process out. Town meetings, and we're going to talk about that at some point. But with that said, that's probably why town open meetings and open public comment are almost stricken. I have some other personal feelings on those, but I don't know the individuals personally, so my opinions on that, on how somebody's responding to something, I don't think is appropriate. For me, I appreciate public comment. I'm open to public comment. I'm open to positive and negative criticism, as long as we can have a reasonable communication conversation with constructive criticism and praise where they're needed at.
All right, thank you. Number 4, are you aware of the turnover of town employees? If so, how would you address the issue, as turnover costs the town money in terms of hiring and training new employees?
That's an interesting question, because turnover happens in every job. If we have a continual turnover in a specific department, then that might be something that needs to be looked at and addressed. If our turnover is summer employment, then that's explainable. If our turnover is every 6 months we're looking for a police chief or a fire chief, there's a problem somewhere. I haven't heard much of major turnover. I've heard a lot of what might be considered overhiring, where we have multiple people in the same job. They're not in the same job, but in the same office. And a lot of citizens have been asking, why do we need this? I'm not sure what happened. I'm not 100% sure what happens in each job title through our town government. I am sure of what my tasks are and what my jobs are. I would love to duplicate myself 3, 4, 5 times over. I might get a lot of things done. But the turnover cost, there's some things about running a business. You do have turnover, but a friendly, a leadership, a mentoring environment might help minimize that.
All right, thank you. Number 5, what would you do about the roads in Oxford to make sure they were drivable for the residents?
That seems to always be a question, and that seems to be a question all across the Commonwealth. The roads, the infrastructure, and everything else. The very simple answer to that is pave them. The problem with pave them is it requires money. And as we know, last Tuesday, Wednesday night's town meeting, nobody wants to increase their taxes or have their taxes increased. Chapter 90 money, which is motor vehicle violations from the state, are what helps fund road repairs. In the town, then the town gets money from every town gets money from every citation issued in the Commonwealth. Then we have gas taxes that help pay for roads. How that's specifically managed and what roads are most important is something that's figured out through other departments in town government. So they prioritize things. Most of our roads, and I look around our community, are pretty rough. And I absolutely say the way to fix them is grind them down, repave them. But that takes money, and I don't want my taxes to go up. So figuring out that process and prioritizing what roads are important I think is the key. Simply putting in sidewalks to do other things, I don't think is an appropriate use of town money, especially when our roads are in a horrible condition. Now, when I say putting in sidewalks is not an appropriate use of town money, we definitely need to protect our citizens that walk and commute via bicycles and things like that. And I have some ideas in my head as to some ideas that we could do with Main Street to maybe keep some proper funding coming to us. But again, that's something that has to be discussed and worked through with other parties more than me. I have an idea. I can't fix everything. I wish I could.
Okay, all right, thank you. Number 6, how would you approach nature conservation for the town?
So, when I read that question, I looked at it. Nature conservation, I think, is important. The trees generate oxygen for us, so there's a reason for that. Our animal wildlife, we keep, as a community or as a country, we keep growing and we keep pushing animals out of their natural habitats. We have foxes in town. We have all kinds of wild animals that roam our community. We can fix that by knocking down all the trees and moving them all out and building all kinds of houses. But I don't think that's the proper thing to do. There has to be somewhere an equal balance between town and community growth and maintaining our nature environments, our natural environments. Something that I never really thought of, other than the fact of, if you want a town to grow, you build, which means you lose trees and you lose park space. But if you don't want to lose trees and park space, then you don't grow. So somewhere there has to be a happy medium. I don't know exactly what that is at this time, and so I don't have an answer to how to fix that.
Okay, thank you. Number 7, what is your interest in affordable property taxes for town residents?
Tax money. I want my taxes to go down. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. The price of everything is going up. The price, which is a larger issue than town government. Trying to properly manage our budget, holding our departments accountable to their budgets with no overruns, looking at what they utilized in their budget or what they didn't utilize in their budgets from previous years, I think is how we work through trying to keep and maintain property taxes appropriate. Right now, I think property taxes across the country are astronomical. Some of the homes that I see in Zillow and other realty sites are extremely, in my opinion, way overpriced for what it takes to build and everything else that goes along with them. I grew up, my father was a carpenter, worked his way through, he's retired as a building inspector. So construction is a little bit in my blood in the background, so understanding the concepts and processes that go into building a house, and then watch them turn around a small residential home on a quarter of an acre selling for $500,000 because everything else is selling for that, or people want a bid war on it, kind of doesn't help in the process. But it is a free enterprise. So keeping our property taxes low, I definitely would like to do and try to stay on top of. But I think that starts with definitely appropriately managing our budgets.
Okay, thank you. Number 8, there was a lot of controversy at the last town meeting, and the meeting lasted hours. There was childcare provided, but having children up until midnight so their parents can attend the town meeting is a disruption to the families. How would you work with the town to manage these meetings better?
That is a discussion that has rolled through my residence quite frequently. The last couple of town meetings have been midnight and later. I saw something where somebody suggested that we do it on a different day, things like that. I think weekends is probably not a good idea because I enjoy my weekends. There may be some overtime issues when we have our police and fire in attendance for our own safety, which needs to happen, and not just building safety and stuff like that. So there could be some potential backlashes in that approach. maybe starting them an hour early. I think our moderator did a very reasonable job. Trying to keep things on track and moving forward. This town meeting, we had 15 articles to look at and vote on, and there was a lot of discussion. A lot of the discussion kind of goes both ways. You have to have that in open meeting, open conversation, open public comment is an absolute requirement. Staying on track is the hardest part of anything, staying on track. So maybe if we started an hour early, but I don't want, my children are now grown, but I don't want my children sitting in the library at the high school while a group of adults are arguing in another room. I don't think that is appropriate, and I'm not professing put the children in the middle school, but I think if both sides of the table, the easiest way to put it is those that are sitting on the stage act like adults, and those that are in the audience act like adults and have respect for each other and be able to have a reasonable conversation. Those on the stage absolutely owe the people in the audience an explanation on why they want to spend our money. Absolutely do. With that, I think maybe publishing or making open comment in some of these committee meetings would help minimize some of the angry open comments during town meetings. But to put a timeline on it, the meeting starts at 7 o'clock, the meeting ends at 10 o'clock, I don't think is appropriate. Having simply time to get through that, because I don't want to be rushed. I want to hear somebody else's opinion on why the school should or shouldn't get money, or why the police department should or shouldn't get money. But those things are also discussed and looked at, as the town manager pointed out. Those things start towards the end of this year for next year's budgets. I think sometimes the town simply reacts to things because they don't hunt down the information. I don't know how to fix that, because I can publish the information, but I can't make somebody read it or look at it. I think management-wise, trying to manage that a little bit better. Although the town moderator, I think, did a very reasonable job, and past town moderators have tried to do very reasonable jobs. I think the best way is just a lot of decorum. We can't have citizens shouting insults to town employees. We can't have town employees shouting insults to other town employees. I don't think that's appropriate. We as humans, we as citizens in this country are much better than that, or at least we should be much better than that.
Thank you. Number 9, sometimes there have been disputes between Board of Selectmen members, and the disputes are aired during meetings. How do you think this should be managed?
Well, the Board of Selectmen meetings and the school board meetings and the finance committee meetings all have a chair. The chair is responsible for keeping respect and decorum during those meetings. Through my time in the military, through my time in the police department, some other clubs and organizations that I have belonged to, I had the opportunity to be part of the executive board. As a matter of fact, I spent many years as the president of one individual club. And with that, it was my job and other board members to try to keep things polite. And remember, we're all trying to work together. We're not fighting each other, and we can have disagreements. You can believe one thing and I can believe another, and we can literally still sit down and have a productive communication. Once we stop that, and I've noticed that in some town meetings, I've noticed that in some of the selectmen's meetings, and we could go back years where some of the behavior, even by the chairman, was definitely inappropriate. Some of the behaviors by our senior and junior selectmen was inappropriate. And then it became personal. And once once it becomes personal, I think everything has gone out the window, and then your emotions get the best of you. And keeping your emotions in check, I think, is a very important part about being a public official. We can look at national politics. No, we won't take sides on any of that, but we can look at national politics. And I don't think that's the way that we behave as a country, a town, or even as people ourselves. Respect has to flow, and it has to flow in both directions.
Thank you. And question number 10, this is the last question. The selectmen are required to decide dangerous dog hearings and recently ruled to have a dog euthanized. How do you feel about this mandate to make life and death decisions about pets?
So, personally, I am a dog lover, a pet lover. I believe that they're great companions and they serve purposes. When they no longer serve a purpose, I don't know how I feel about that. And I don't know if they really truly no longer serve a purpose. Here in the Commonwealth, we don't have the death penalty for any crime. And with that, there's been some very heinous crimes. And I could quote back to some very popular children crimes that were our best bets to get the death penalty. What makes a pet any different than any other human life? So as I read through the bylaws in regards to pets and licenses and stuff like that, I take homage with some of the terminology. Dispose of is kind of hurtful, but it's a word, and I'm not hurt by words. But as I go through the Mass General laws in regards to that, they're pretty specific on different actions of the offending dog, the actions of the victim, and so on. So with that, that's a really tough choice. I definitely believe in second chances. I'm not a perfect person by any stretch, and without second chances, you don't get success, I guess. I don't know how to rehabilitate a dog or a very dangerous dog, and there are some out there that they're just simply bred to be aggressive. They're bred for certain dog fighting things, which isn't the dog's fault. That's their handlers and their owner's fault. There should be some responsibility laid down in that direction. But actually making the life and death decision on a dog or anybody's pet or anybody, I think, is a very challenging and difficult decision. And again, going back to everything, is once that decision is made, the explanation has to be given to both sides as to why this was decided or why this was not decided. Through a great big overwhelming look at our town government, I don't think our citizens trust them. And so for me, I would like to try to change that. Can I do it? I don't know. I'm just one person. I do know that if you don't like the way things are going, you need to get out and vote, and you need to get out and find somebody that you have faith and trust in that can possibly make a change. If not, then we get what we get, and we deserve it. That we have that right in this country to vote, and we have the right to have our voices heard.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just remind people again, the election is May 21st, 2024. Please get out and vote. Thank you.